information from the public. Hello?
Well, let me see.
Hello? Can you hear me?
We hear you fine. Go ahead.
Okay, they're not only withholding information from the people here in the United States about UFOs and other things similar to that, but they're also withholding the information in Russia. I have a book called The New Soviet Psychic Discoveries, written by 2 American writers who went over to the Soviet Union, interviewed scientists, and the scientists let them know that at one time they could bring forth this information, and suddenly their government stopped them. But their government did allow these writers to interview the scientists, and this book divulges all this information. They definitely believe there are UFOs.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, they have proof that in 1908 an atomic bomb was exploded, that there was a UFO that came within a certain vicinity and exploded an atomic bomb above the ground, and they even went back and studied all of this evidence.
Well, the evidence is still there from that explosion. But we don't know whether it was an atomic bomb or just exactly what it was.
I'd like to know why all the governments are holding this information back from the people.
So would Fred.
And I feel that the people should be doing something to write their congressman to say, hey, divulge it. It's about time.
They won't pay any attention to it.
But it's a good idea to write their congressman to get this opened up to the public.
Well, we've often called for on this show, and I really would like to see it, a full-blown congressional investigation into this matter. But before you can do that, you have to have a presidential pardon or some sort of a statement that releases NASA officials and astronauts from the national security vow and contracts, so that they can speak openly and freely without any kind of fear of recrimination from the government against their security or their pensions or any of the other things.
Well,
didn't they have an investigation during the 60s, behind closed doors?
Well,
Congress?
if you can call that an investigation, I think we should call that a whitewash
more
than anything
that
else.
was a whitewash, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think the American people need this new investigation.
Well, I'd like to see it happen. I don't know if it will. There are a lot of things that are going on that perhaps the congressman I think more important, but as time goes on, I think having this kind of information, properly put forth, a lot of people just won't believe it unless they got the imprimatur of the government. But the government just has always felt, it seems to me, they've listened to the think tanks of the great institutions that feed them with all of this information, that if we were to be officially told that there are aliens in our space and that they have interfered with us for a long time, that it might hurt our psychology and we'd run amok in the streets and tear down our economy and tear down our country and do all sorts of things.
Well, that's why I think your program is so valuable to us. You're bringing it out.
Well,
and you're not on long enough as far as we're concerned.
Well, about Castaic, I did not see anything last night. We went out there, and the folks from Two on the Town went with me, so we had television cameras, and some of the folks saw one sighting. I just happened to be talking to somebody at the time with my back turned. I didn't see it. But Dr. Viscott did. Some of the others that were with us did see those things. We're going to do it again.
Please do.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right. I'm Bill Jenkins. It's Open Mind. Fred Steckling is with me. We'll be back in just a moment. On the moon, our guest, Fred Steckling, has written a book called Alien Bases on the Moon. Photographs in there. A lot of his interpretation of them, and you have a chance to talk to Fred, and Jeff is on the line to do that. Jeff, what's on your mind tonight?
First of all, I'd like to say, Mr. Steckling, I did get a copy of your book and read it and was very impressed with it. Some of the questions I do have is, if there are alien beings on the moon and other planets, why has the space exploration, especially here in the United States, now just been limited to the space shuttle? And, why aren't we up there trying to set up space stations and find out who these people are? And obviously, there's a lot we can learn from them.
Well, perhaps that's the answer. There's too much we can learn from them. And we are right now not ready for this type of information because it would interfere with our business setups, with our energy setups as we have. They speak so much about free energy, but do we really want it? You perhaps and I, but can the industry today, with the unemployment situation and the economical problems we have, digest such a sudden change? And I think what happens here is that we deliberately are kept in the dark for some time to come yet. We must not forget that inventions such as the television, telephone, radio and so forth were known in the 1920s, but we found out much later about it when they got good and ready for it and had figured out a way how they can charge us for it. And
we'll be discussing this next week, in fact, when Tom Bearden is here, Jeff, about, for instance, free energy. Those devices are now in place, and they're being radically developed. Nikola Tesla wanted to give the world free energy back at the turn of the century, and was in the process of doing it. And when J.P. Morgan found out about that, who was supporting him as far as his research was concerned, took away all of his funds. He says, the man is crazy who wants to give the world energy. That's something that we can sell.
Also, another question I have is, obviously in the printing of some of those photographs, there's got to be a lot of the image lost to it. Is there any way you can get copies of those photographs from NASA as you obtained?
Yes, you can order them from the Goddard Space Flight Center in Greenbelt, Maryland, code 601, and just...
now, are they all in, are there some in color also?
You can request some of them in color. They have not released many of those, because there you can even detect much easier what is going on there. But just write to them and tell them what numbers you like to have, and if you like to have an enlarged photos, they enlarge it to you for you 18 inches by 20 and some 24 inches. It costs you about $3 or $4. I spent thousands of dollars in research money to get all this material together that I have in my book.
See, in theory, those pictures belong to the people of the United States. They're public domain, and they should be given to you. Of course, you're probably going to get doctored pictures, but go ahead and...
Maybe not,
Maybe not. Right.
Maybe not.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Jeff, thank you very much for calling. Okay. Let me tell you about this. Every year there's a group of people, and it's quite a large group who...
Oh, hello.
Uh-huh.
I called up because I got so excited when that one particular guest you had on that was so skeptical about the subject matter. People are such unbelievers. My daughter saw something in Banning. Oh, this was quite some time
Do you have
ago.
a question for our guest, Fred Steckling?
No, I wanted to tell you about the sighting that my daughter saw.
Oh, well, I'll tell you, we have Fred on the line, and there are some people who want to get to him about the things that are going on the moon. Could we talk to you at some other time about that, Edna?
Well, okay.
All right.
All right, bye.
All right, thank you very much. We have Saeed on the line?
Yes, Bill?
Yes.
We enjoyed having you on the Castaic Lake last night. Hopefully next time we will see something.
Yeah, we just saw one last night, didn't we?
Yeah. Some people saw it, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay, Fred, how is it that suddenly everything on the moon was canceled out, all the research by Russians and Americans? And isn't that why a big indication that both sides were scared of those extraterrestrials being on the moon?
Well, this is the opinion of some of the researchers that believe that Apollo 17 was all of a sudden the last one that went to the moon, not because we didn't find anything there, but we found too much there. And it's not because we can't afford it. The United States is a rich country. We can afford the space program. We should go back to the moon and thoroughly explore it and let the public know everything that they find. And
that's what they told people, that we cannot afford it.
Well, that wasn't true.
We can afford wars and everything else if we can go to the moon.
And they could...
it was very costly to turn off the Apollo program. The effect that was having on our economy, the new technology that was bringing into the economy, the new jobs that was bringing into the economy, was incredibly enormous and impressive. And for us to turn it off like we did was an extremely costly thing to the American people.
Was it possible that we could move our missile sites to the moon, and with all that research they could do all...
I'm sure someone would try to think of something like that, and that's a sad commentary on where we are, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, thank you very much.
Okay, Saeed, thank you. It looks like we're just about out of time here for Open Mind tonight. Fred Steckling, your book, Alien Bases on the Moon, is something that causes you to think. There are some photographs in there. You can look at them. You can order them. You've got them listed as to what they are. Go over it yourself. All we're trying to do here is to get people to become aware of the fact that there may be more to the moon than we're led to believe. And it's up to each of us as individuals, as Americans, to check into it as best we can. And there are resources that we all have. And I appreciate your book. If it's all true, that's wonderful, but at least you've caused people to think. All right?
Thank you. That's right. That's what I want them to do, and I want them to order the photographs and to show NASA that they show an interest in the space program and that they are interested in what we found.
Okay, good. And we have to go. Our time is up. We'll see you again. Bye.
Recently...